All right. Yesterday, OpenAI launched ChatGPT 4.0, but this is O as in Omni, not O as in 4.0.
Right. Right.
And so I sent you OpenAI's page. There's a couple of demos. I just want to show you one of them in particular.
All right. Let's take a gander here and let's see what we got going on. All right. Hello, GPT 4.0.
All right.
All right.
I don't even care about their announcement. Scroll down. All right. So scroll through some of those up top.
Right here.
Well, we will look at these too, but scroll through some of those videos in there, and find the one with the father and the son. Right there.
Right here.
You should know who this is.
Oh, from Khan Academy.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Watch it. Watch this.
OpenAI invited myself and my son Imran here to try out some of their new technology. And so we're curious about how good it might be at tutoring someone in math on Khan Academy. So let's get it started. It's loading up.
Yeah, and see, they got early access to this, it looks like.
Hello there. I'm here with my son, and I'd love you to tutor him on this math problem, but don't give him the answer. You can ask questions and nudge him in the right direction, but I really want to make sure he understands it himself. And he's here in the room, so you can talk to him directly.
Of course, I'd be happy to help. Let's look at the problem together. Can you first identify which side of the
Good.
triangle
Oh my God.
opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse relative to angle alpha?
All right, so I'm pretty sure this is the angle alpha right here, right?
Perfect. That's correct. Now, looking at the triangle, which side do you think is the hypotenuse?
Really,
Remember the hypotenuse?
I'm not totally sure. I think it might be this one, but I really am not sure. This side AC.
You're close. Actually, side AC is called the adjacent side to the angle alpha. The hypotenuse is the longest side of a right triangle and is directly opposite the right angle. Can you find which one is the hypotenuse?
Oh, okay, I see. So I think the hypotenuse is this really long side from A to B. Would that be correct?
Exactly. Well done. Now that you've identified the hypotenuse, can you identify which side is the opposite side to angle alpha?
Okay, well, I mean, you told me earlier that this was the adjacent side,
Wow.
and I know that's the hypotenuse.
That's the concept here is just obviously as a father with a daughter.
Mhm.
This is so huge.
It's huge.
It's personalized tutoring with AI with context to whatever other apps you have open.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really remarkable. I suspect that demo is, I don't know, I'd like to try this out, obviously. You know what? I'm gonna make a statement here that it did not occur to me until right now. But actually, the demo that we saw could be one of the biggest arguments for glasses, computational glasses, smart glasses, being an inevitability. Because what we are seeing is an AI interacting with kind of the real world outside of its walled garden, if you will, right? Like it's interacting with a thing on the side, right? Well, that's cool, but what you really need is for it to interact with the world around you, and it needs to be able to see and hear that world, which means there has to be a personal effect of some sort, and glasses are probably the one.
So I've been very, very pro AR. I think you've known that, right? Like, and I'm very, very pro AR. And yes, they're way too big today. But if you look at the miniaturization of technology, it's a reality that it will be very cool. Scrolling further down, though, I do want to show you that on the image generation side, it really has crazy improved if you scroll further here. So really read this input and show what it's doing. This is actually getting correct text onto the object.
Oh, wow. That is a massive step.
Yeah, now keep
By the
going.
way, if this is now, if you can count on this,
Yeah.
this is like they really buried the lead on this one. This is a huge leap if this really works like this.
Well, now look at number 2, right? So keeps typing, and now there's the second one. So, and then number 3, and now they have it ripping. So they've done 3 different things here that I think is really interesting. Okay. 1, they've added text. Okay, cool. Text, guys, text was hard. 2, they've added stylistic consistency. And 3, they've really almost gotten to the point where you could create a mini GIF out of this stuff.
Yeah. It's interesting. You can see that it struggles with this, which you would understand. That it's interesting that they chose this as a demo. That was a really interesting thing to choose to challenge it and to see its weakness, right? You can see it starts to fall apart here, which actually makes me believe this one, right?
Yeah.
Like the fact that this, is still, this SDE with the strike through, and then it drops some words like the, and blah 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 blah. Really interesting.
Massive move forward. I'm really excited to test the image generation capabilities. Now, obviously, there's all kinds of like minor improvements here, and language tokens. This is also another thing that's really, really important. There's been a big shrink in token count. Which, okay, so for English, it's not nearly as big as in for non-English, right?
Yeah. So you just get a 10% improvement,
Savings, right? But if you're in a non-Phoenician alphabet,
yep,
I went there, Phoenician. If you're in a non-Phoenician alphabet, it's a massive savings.
Yeah, that is wild. That is wild. Makes it a lot more accessible, which is really cool.
So I know these
and
are
it's also free now. And this model is free now. And I knew, like, what I thought what this announcement was going to be when they first started it, and I first started watching like the first few minutes, and they were like GPT 4.0. I was like, oh, gross. This is just for open, and they're just trying to keep up with Gemini, like Google, right? And they're just like scrambling now, and they can't like actually deliver on any innovation. But I was wrong. Omni, not open. And and it does look promising.
There's a lot of value here, and
yeah.
So I still think, obviously I play with the different AIs. I still think Chat GPT is in the forefront, but I've heard a lot of arguments now that Google, because of its distribution via Chrome, is going to take a huge lead, and I've started to hear some people really push that Facebook and more importantly Meta, the parent company, are really going to be the leaders in AI. And it's pretty hard to argue with that, right? You've heard me say it in the past. I think Microsoft's going to be in the lead because of their relationship with OpenAI and their ability to integrate it into Office, which is a massive win. So this is starting to become like the whole FANG thing. Those are really all the people who are going to be in the lead, or Manga now, right? All the people in the Manga are the ones that are pushing the edge on AI, and for the first time, like Netflix is really not like somebody that I think about, right? When it came to technology, Netflix was always near the top.
I'll tell you where Netflix may end up coming out in this, because if you think about Netflix, right? Like, what I think it may be interesting is, I was just thinking as we were talking about this, like it may end up that OpenAI becomes kind of the technical innovators. They're the best at like the like coming up with new ways to do AI. The transformer model, which actually I think Google came up with the transformer model, and I think OpenAI ended up just popularizing it. But I think that Google wrote the paper on the transformers back in 2014 or 2016. But will OpenAI drive forward the technical innovation? But really, when it comes down to the marketable versions of AI, what you need to look at are the people with a consumer focus who already sit on a ton of data that they can make use of, right? Meta and Microsoft and Google. And here's why I think Netflix is interesting, because I think what Netflix is going to do, if they're smart, if I'm Netflix, I'm not trying to do conversational AI. I'm not trying to do these things. I'm trying to be the best at generative AI. And I'm trying to come up with series of shows personalized to an individual to where I get my own series. I get my own episodes. I get my own characters. That's where I think Netflix needs to remain competitive.
And it's funny because Kevin Feige, I believe, said that even 6 months ago, he goes, in 10 years, you're going to be able to go and sit down and say, hey, Netflix, I want to, I had a rough day. I want to star across Marilyn Monroe as the main actress. I want it to be a rom-com and I want to feel good at the end of it.
Yep.
And then watch a movie. And I do think that's obviously in Netflix's best interest. What's interesting there, though, is the computational power that's necessary to do that versus like a still image or a single article. Like there's so much extra. Like it's not like a 5-second video clip, right? It's like a whole
30-minute,
30-minute
video,
whatever.
Yep.
And more importantly, a lot of the stuff that you do with AI is shareable, if you will, with low computational cost. Like what does Netflix have to charge to be able to do that? Do that frequently. It's going to be, the next 10 years are going to be crazy.
Yeah, again, like the cost of computation goes down, the way the token usage goes down over time, right? Like all of this stuff will trend back towards zero. I mean, that's the way that it works. That's the way that computing has always worked. And so it really isn't an inevitability. It's really about when does that happen, not if that will happen. It's when does the compute get cheap enough to do it.
And now that I'm saying that, I could actually envision a scenario when Netflix doesn't handle the compute for that it's actually a local app with Netflix's code that runs that generation.
I mean, it could be interesting. I mean, you now we're talking about packaging a very strong model onto a little circuit board of a $299 flat screen TV, but maybe.
But I mean, Apple TV has a box, right?
Yeah.
I could imagine a Netflix box that's like, hey, if you want personalized generative content,
you buy this box or rent this box,
or you rent this box,
plug it in, and it. Yeah, it's an interesting point.
Wow,
you federate out the cost of compute to the consumer through these through renting basically the new VCR.
I was just gonna say I used to work with CPE, consumer premise equipment, and that's what a cable box is, right? And a modem. And you rent them from the cable companies.
Yep.
Oh my God, you heard it here first. Netflix is going to get CPE. I'm calling it now.
It's a really interesting idea. Actually, it's a really interesting idea. The question is, do they want to be a hardware company, right? Do they want to be in a hardware game?
Yeah.
That's an entirely different question, but they could also decide not to necessarily be directly involved in that, whatever.
So the title of this is going to have to be like OpenAI, manga, and Netflix has cable boxes.
What?
Yeah, it's going to be a crazy episode, but all right. Thank you. Have a good day.